Hello and welcome to the LU Moment, where we showcase all the great things happening right here at Lamar University with our faculty, staff, students, and alumni. I'm John Rollins, your host, Associate Director of Community Relations and Public Affairs here at Lamar University, and I'm excited to welcome everyone to a very special edition of the LU Moment. We're going to do a video podcast today, and if you can't tell, my guest today is Jeff O'Malley. He is the Athletics Director here at Lamar University. Jeff, thank you for joining me today on the LU Moment.
Thanks for having me, John. Appreciate it.
Glad to have you. Lamar just had a record year with athletics, took home the Commissioner's Cup right here, men's all-sport trophy. We've got to show that off right here in the video. So we definitely wanted to bring you in and kind of talk about some highlights, what's coming up in the coming year, just all the amazing things that are going on. So before we get started, let's hear a little bit about you. I know previously you were with Marshall University for 20 years?
Correct.
Yeah, so let's hear about that.
Yeah, so I grew up in New Jersey, so right outside New York City. Went to school, did my undergrad in Miami, Ohio. Went to law school, University of Dayton. Then I started to get into college athletics. Worked at the University of Dayton after I graduated from law school.
Awesome.
Then got a job at UMass, where I worked for an individual named Bob Markham. And then Bob ended up becoming the athletic director at Marshall, which was his alma mater in his hometown. So I went down there with him to Marshall and spent 20 great years there.
Wow.
And then I had the privilege of working alongside Dr. Taylor, who was the provost at the time, and we developed a really great working relationship, and then things worked out, here to where I was able to come down here. Now going on my third year,
Yeah,
and
fantastic.
Yeah, time really flies, but it's been a great transition. It's been great being here, and it's just wonderful working for somebody like Dr. Taylor.
Yeah, well, I think you might have just answered this question, but what initially drew you to applying for this job? Was it the connection with Dr. Taylor, or had you kind of heard about Lamar? What kind of sprung you into that?
Yeah, the biggest thing was the relationship with Dr. Taylor. I had not really had quite that much of a mutual respect, working with somebody like that. I mean, I respected everybody I worked for, but it was like predetermined, so we had known each other before we were, working for each other, or, I was working for him. So that was a big part of it. And then just coming down here and seeing what Lamar had to offer, and seeing the facilities that were in place, meeting some of our coaches and the people here. And, I knew it was just ripe for success, and so did Dr. Taylor, So it was just, there were things that had to be fixed, and we were able to fix some things. There's still things that we're working on fixing.
Right.
But, we knew going back into the Southland Conference the way we did, with the facilities we had in place, with the commitment that the administration, Dr. Taylor, had for athletics and what athletics can do for a university. It was just a very appealing position for me. So
wonderful.
Yep.
Well, I feel like any employees or staff here at Lamar would echo your comments about Dr. Taylor. He really sees kind of to the core of a person and what their passions are, and tries to pull that out of them. So I feel like he probably saw that in you and said, come on over. So love that.
No, it was great. And we connected. Just a short story. I mean, I was on the search committee when he got hired at Marshall.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
So I knew him from day one, and it was there were 19 people on the search committee at the time.
Yeah, that's pretty large.
There was, I actually had to do one of the reference checks on him, and just learning about his background, and what athletic people thought of him, just before he even started as provost was really kind of set the stage for our relationship at that point. So.
Yeah, fantastic. I love that. So tell us a little bit about, as under your role as athletics director, what all falls kind of in your purview for that role? What do you oversee, I guess? I'm sure it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything, you know.
Okay.
So I mean, obviously we have 17 sports here at Lamar, so all those head coaches fall underneath us. We have a business office, so we have a CFO in athletics. We have an academic component, a counselor, and Helene Phil, sees up our academic wing. compliance, NCAA compliance, athletic training, strength and conditioning, marketing and promotions. It's almost like
It's a lot.
it's almost like you take like a little mini part of the university and put it over in athletics. And
Right.
we kind of have our own world, but I think one of the goals that Dr. Taylor had is we want teamwork, right? We want to be able to work with everybody on the community side, or on the academic side, and be able to support the mission of the university, and in turn they can support the mission of athletics, and that's really big for us, and obviously we want to win, and that's important for everybody down here. But like from my standpoint, like I want the university to be healthy. I want the university to grow, right? So whatever we can do to help student recruitment, student retention, faculty recruitment, faculty retention, I am all for it. I'm willing to support those. I want to hear how I can help. If we can bring ideas to the table that are well received, we would definitely do that as well. But we're here for the whole university.
I love that. I love the way you put it too, because Lamar is basically like this giant jigsaw puzzle, and you need every single piece to make it all kind of come together and work.
Absolutely.
For the betterment of the students. That's who we're here for at the end of the day.
Yeah,
So,
no doubt, no doubt.
Love that. So let's hear a little bit more about the Commissioner's Cup. I know, obviously, we've got it right here. We see the trophy, but Lamar won Best Overall Athletics Program. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so this is the first time in school history that we've won the Southland Conference
Wow.
Commissioner's Cup,
Very nice.
which is the best overall. They take a point value for how your teams finish in the regular season in conference.
Okay.
And so they assign that. So if you finish first, there are 10 teams in the league. If you finish first, you get 10 points, 9, 8, 7, all the way down.
Okay.
So, and they do that for every sport. So that's how we ended up, with the Commissioner's Cup. But, we have really strong track program. Cross country
Yes.
won the women's cross country championship. Obviously, women's soccer has won the women's regular season soccer championship and the
Yeah.
tournament championship the last 2 years.
And they got one of these last year,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, and the women won the All Sports Trophy last year based upon that championship,
Wonderful.
and track won the outdoor championship as well last year. So, but we really had a lot of success, obviously on the men's side too. I mean, baseball
Yes.
had a great year. Football we finished third in football, and men's basketball finished fourth, and so it was it was a really good year for us across the board.
Yeah.
So this is great to be able to do that. This is the first time in school history we won this. It's the second time in school history we won the men's trophy. The first time in school history we won the women's trophy last year.
Yeah.
So it's great to have a lot of success. But we're not here just to rest on those laurels. I mean, we want to continue to do the best we can. But the other thing we need to do too is we need to continue to qualify and then have some success in the postseason as well, right? So, women's soccer went to the NCAA tournament, but they were our only NCAA tournament team sport that
Okay.
went. So, we'd like to grow that even more with some of our other sports, winning the tournament championship and going on to the NCAAs, because that's where really you can see some national recognition at that point. So
Gotcha.
that's our goal kind of moving forward.
Yeah.
We still want to collect trophies. And,
right.
but we also want some national recognition as well.
Yeah, well, and that gets community excitement as well, because if I've only been here about a year now, but I remember before I started, people were telling me, when Lamar starts winning things, we'll start coming. So I'm always blasting on Facebook, Lamar is winning, and I know it's so cheesy, but I always tell people to jump aboard the LU train because it's full steam ahead, because they are winning. We had record enrollment numbers last year, just celebrated our centennial year. That's 100 years right here in Southeast Texas. There's just amazing things happening, and I think this is the time to be a part of LU.
Yeah, no, it really is. We heard that quite a bit too, visiting with donors, and they're like, hey,
Right.
come back and see us when you're winning, so now we're
So
going
you're
back
like
knocking on the
knocking, yeah.
doors. Yeah.
Hey, remember me?
So, yeah, remember what you said?
Right.
But there is an increased, excitement in the community about our program.
Yes.
I just, people see the Lamar shirts I wear, and they want to sit down and they want to talk about Lamar athletics, which wasn't the case when I first got here.
Yeah.
But now I get stopped on the street, I get stopped in the stores, and which is great to have that type of community backing,
Yes.
community involvement. And I urge anybody out there who wants to, who sees this, come on out to games. That's what
Yes.
we want to build, that excitement, that in-game experience, so that you have, you can go out and you can talk to your friends about what a great time you had at our events, how exciting it was, and then continue to come back and bring them with you.
Yes, and that's morale boosting for the players as well. They want to see stands that are full and people cheering for them.
Yep.
And the community supporting, so very important, absolutely.
Yeah, really is.
Yep. So we also had something very exciting happen this year. We had 2 athletes make it to the U.S. Olympic trials, Kenson Tate and Chloe Rodriguez, correct?
Yes.
And they're both track and field athletes. So would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so we've had some people qualify in the past for the Olympic trial on the men's side.
Okay.
I think Kenson was the third or fourth
Oh, wow.
on the men's side, but it's been quite some time.
Okay.
Chloe's the first female that we've had, go
Which
to
is
the Olympic
amazing.
trials,
Yeah.
which is great. And what a great experience for them, and we had some staff who traveled with them to the NCAA finals, and track and field championships, and they were talking about, they walk around, they see all these Power 5 schools, the Texas and the A&Ms and
Yeah,
Arkansas
right.
and all that, and you see Lamar, but it's great to be in that conversation
Yeah.
and be in that mix and be represented. But to have somebody on the Olympic, even being in the conversation to go to the Olympics is just wonderful, and it's great that they were able to compete here and
Yes.
have that experience of going to Oregon and competing for a shot at the Olympics. So
Yeah. I love that example too, because Lamar does deserve a seat at the table with some of these larger universities. If we're delivering these quality student athletes, why not?
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
They earned their way there.
Yeah, and we did it with baseball this year. Going up to Oklahoma and having a 3-game sweep. Of the Sooners who were a number 9 seed in the NCAA tournament. In the postseason, and that really started the conversation for us to get an at-large bid as well. So we did make some national waves.
Yeah.
But we need to continue to build upon that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of baseball, I believe his name is Brooks.
Brooks Capel.
And tell us about what just happened with him.
Yeah, well,
Super
Brooks
exciting.
Just got drafted by the Cubs. So
Love that.
Yeah, and it was great. So he's making his way up through the minor leagues, and hopefully we'll see him in the show, one day as well. So, but it's baseball is it's an interesting sport because you never really know how kids are going to develop, and especially in baseball
Right.
too, and to have somebody like Brooks, come here, and have success last year and stay and continue to have success this year and then get drafted, it's really something special, and Coach Davis does a great job recruiting,
Yes.
Does a great job putting that team together, and it's something to behold for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And Coach Davis got to throw the first pitch at the Astros game.
He did.
So LU's just, man, we're out there. I'm loving it.
Yeah,
Loving it.
he did. That was
So
a great
much.
night.
Fantastic. So President Taylor has recently been named to the NCAA Division I Board of Directors. What does that mean for our university?
We have a seat at the table, right? And I think that's something that kind of shows, Dr. Taylor's commitment to athletics,
Yes.
and him wanting to make a difference, and also, puts us in a conversation with some other bigger schools as well. And I know that's something that he relishes and is looking for. But it's almost super important now, given where we are in college athletics, because it is changing every day. And with the lawsuits that are here and this House settlement, this House lawsuit, the future of college athletics is really up in the air. There's a lot of questions. The way we hand out scholarships, roster size limits.
Okay.
Revenue sharing with the student athletes. That's all something that is here. It's on the table. It's something that is most likely going to go into effect starting in August of next year.
Okay.
And we just need to get ready for what those, what are the answers to all these questions,
Right.
And Dr. Taylor's going to be in the room to help formulate some of these answers.
Oh, that's amazing for our university.
Yeah, it really is.
Absolutely. So, as far as updates on any athletics programs or any facilities upgrades, is there anything that the public might need to know about? I do know the Montaigne Center floor recently has been redone.
Yeah.
That's a huge deal, especially for the basketball players. So
yeah, we've done quite a bit in the last year. So football got a new scoreboard or new video board and a new sound system.
And it's amazing.
And basketball they got a new floor, they got new lights, they got a new video board, and they got a new sound system. And those were all that were really needed upgrades.
Okay.
Like just for example, the floor in the Montaigne Center, the floor we took up, that was the original floor in the building. So,
Okay.
And those floors usually have a useful life of around 10 years. So you can just imagine.
Yeah. Wow.
Those kids were playing on a floor that was 40 years old. So
I bet those athletes are so thankful.
Yeah, so it was a big that was a big improvement for them. But
Yeah.
on the horizon, something we're looking at right now is trying to replace the scoreboard and video board at the baseball stadium at Vincent Beck.
Okay.
So that's something that we have out. We have drawings on, and we're looking at costs and implementation for that.
Fantastic. So something I want to bring up, this is kind of random, but I was invited to talk on a podcast with the Lamar University Press not too long ago, and we were talking about how journalists have this almost innate desire to connect. We're generally curious people, asking questions, wanting to know more. What would you say a student athlete, what is a quality that you think a student athlete should possess just coming into this type of environment, or what do you think would help them progress or kind of move forward?
Yeah, I think discipline, a willingness to be coached, helps.
Yeah.
A desire to work, desire to win,
Work at it,
and to work on your own, right? So a lot of the wins and losses are done in the summertime when people aren't around to watch you practice and watch you play,
Right.
and how committed are you to those things? Everybody wants to show up on game time or game day,
Right.
and it's what happens, when there aren't so many eyeballs on you that it's going to determine whether or not you're successful. So.
I think that's great advice.
Yeah.
Well, on that same note, how important is the academic piece of all of this? We want our student athletes to excel in their sports, their respective sports, but we're also here to graduate students. So how does your department work to focus on that as well?
Yeah, so I mentioned before we have Helene Thill, who's overseeing our academic arm in athletics, and she provides the counseling for them and getting them, she'll line up the tutors and planning out their schedules, and she has people that work for her and doing that as well. So that's really important in terms of planning out, class schedules around practice schedules, and getting them in the right class and getting them to meet their, we have percentage towards degree requirements that student athletes have to meet in order to be eligible.
Okay.
So you have to meet those benchmarks moving forward. So that's really important. But ultimately you're working towards the goal of graduation, which is key. Our football team has had they just had the highest GPA they've had since we brought football back in 2010.
Wow.
So I know that's something that Coach Rossamando is really proud of.
Quite an accomplishment.
Yeah. And so we've been trying to push out, those things. But there's a ton of success that our student athletes have, but to see them graduate, and even when they graduate, and if they still have a year of eligibility left to compete as a graduate student, is even is great, right? Because they've already accomplished the academic goal, and now they still want to stick around and be part of athletics.
I love that so much. So, anything else you want to bring up before we kind of wrap up our chat? Those are my questions for today.
No,
I feel like we covered a lot.
Yeah, just urge everybody, to come on out and support us. In the fall we'll have 3 home football games. We're on the road. We start on the road August 31st, and then we have 3 home games right after that, including Weber State, who's nationally ranked. So it's going to be a good test for us.
So how can folks keep up with Lamar Athletics?
So lamarcardinals.com is our website. And we have all the links to our social medias on there as well.
Okay.
So we try to pump stuff out.
Very active everywhere.
Yeah.
I will say y'all's team, the media relations team, is cranking out stories constantly. It's great stuff.
That's awesome.
They're on top of it.
Thank you. Yeah.
So,
University marketing has helped us out tremendously
yeah.
in getting that squared away. So that's awesome.
Awesome. What goes back to that collaborating across
Absolutely.
campus? Collaboration is key.
Yep. No doubt.
All right, everybody. As Jeff just said, sorry, I feel like you coach everybody,
That's
right?
right.
As Jeff just mentioned, don't forget to check out a Lamar athletics game very soon, whether that's football, baseball, basketball, volleyball, track, all the things. Come to Lamar and see for yourself. That's a wrap on this episode of the LU Moment. Don't forget to search LU Moment wherever you get your podcasts to keep up with the people, places, programs, and events right here at Lamar University. Follow LU on our socials. It's simple. Just search Lamar University on your preferred social media. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on future episodes. This is John Rollins, your host, saying thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.